game. Were you pleased with the defense as you seem to be walking off the sidelines?
Yeah, I was really pleased. I thought that the biggest thing was I liked the way that we played to our identity. And you watch the tape, I mean, guys were playing fast, moving around, and then they really executed. So, for the most part, we did the things we got to do. Did a good job in the run game, found a way to create turnovers, and particularly in the first half, got off the field on third down. So, I was pleased with them, and it was fun.
Errol keeps on finding a way to get the ball, make tackles. That sort of. Is he a guy that you just see climbing that ladder?
Yeah, he's a talented guy, and every time he's been in the game, he's answered the bell. This time he played a few more snaps relative to the other games, and he did a really good job. So really pleased with that. But that's why you got to prepare, because you never know when your number's going to be called, and that's what we tell him. And he's a guy that came in. He set the calls. He made the adjustments. He showed the ability to tackle in space. He's got some size to him, so he can thump guys pretty good. And he really did a good job in coverage too. So I was pleased with his performance and the way he worked, and continue to develop him, because I think he's a bright future.
How encouraging is it that you could lose a guy like Des Harris in a situation like that, kind of your captain of your defense, and everybody just pick up and take care of things?
Yeah, I mean, that's, as a guy that everybody has a role, and you never know when your number is going to be called, so you have to be ready. So, that's why we split our reps the way we do in practice, and make sure that sometimes twos go with ones and things like that from a communication standpoint. And you got to be ready. And we do try to play a lot of players anyway, for the most part. And I think because of that, for example, with Errol, it helped him be ready for that moment. So we'll continue to do that moving forward.
Montez has been honored again this week. He's just coming off the edge really, really well for you, and hasn't been here that long. Just talk about what he's learned in a short amount of time.
He's a talented player. I think I said back in August, he's a guy that can come off the edge. He's got some pass rush ability to him. Pass rush is about one-on-one matchups, so just trying to, move him around and get him in position to make some plays and get him one-on-one so he can, he's long, he's got length, he can edge rush. So just trying to find ways to get him one-on-one, and he takes a lot of pride in it. It's done a good job.
Not that titles matter, but do you consider him a linebacker or defensive end?
He's a rusher. I mean, however you want to call it, he's an edge rusher, and he'll do both. He'll rush and drop, but he's an edge rusher.
What have you seen from Kobe this year, being his first year to get on the field?
Kobe's another guy that he's in a role for us, rotating at the end position, and he's done a good job when he's been in there. He gives us energy, he gives us some reps, and there's not really a drop off when he goes in from that standpoint, and we're able to be productive. So it's important that guys like him, have that kind of production, and when they get in there, there's not really a drop off.
When you first got here, you inherited a defense that was ranked 120th in pass defense. Was that one of the first areas that you saw that you needed to improve on?
Honestly, the first thing I looked at was the players, and then how do we put the pieces in place. I didn't really care or was too concerned about what had happened in the past. I looked more at what was going to happen in the future, and really just individually looked at each player and where we need to put them and how they fit. And then from there, just tried to start emphasizing our identity and how we want to play. And, we've got good coaches on our staff that teach, and we got good teachers and guys that bought in and have worked to understand the system. And in the combination of understanding the system and playing to the identity we want, we've been able to have some success.
I was about to say, in your experience, instilling confidence in guys that maybe didn't have as much success last year, is that a mental thing? Do you yell at them a lot, or do you just go over the playbook a ton, or is it a physical thing? I mean, how do you do that?
It's all of the above. I mean, it's kind of got to get a feel for it. As far as I don't think it's ever written in stone. I think each situation is different for how you handle it. I think the biggest thing is as a coach or a teacher. So here's what we got to teach. You're also an evaluator. Here are the things. And when I say evaluator, you evaluate guys, and here's his assets, here's his liabilities, and how can this guy play for us? And then you start looking at combination of players, and then what's the combination? What combination gives us the best chance to win, and where we got to put guys? So I don't know if there's really a book written. It's kind of each time it's a little bit different. But the biggest thing is you need the belief of the players. You need to make sure that you have the habitual traits needed to play that way. And those are the biggest things we worked on early. And then from there, it's about teaching and coaching and taking teaching and coaching. And the guys have done a good job with that.
What have you liked about the way that your team has covered the passing game this year?
Well, I think that it's a combination of coverage and rush. I think that when you have good rush, it gets a clock in the quarterback's head that I got to get rid of the ball. Like, for example, if you can get hits on the quarterback, you get like the other night we had some pretty good hits on the quarterback, which the ball's got to come out at a certain time. So even though you may not be getting rushed on that play, it happened to play before. It happened earlier in the game. So if you can consistently get rush on the quarterback, it speeds the clock up in his head of getting rid of the ball. And then if you can combine that with maybe some disguise or some looks that pre-snap tell me to throw the ball here, but post-snap I really can't do that, then you force a guy to hold the ball, then you get indecision. And when you get that indecision, that's when you can get sacks, cause fumbles, interceptions, got those in the wrong spot, those kind of things. So that's really the game.
What do you see from the UMass offense?
Well, first of all, they're talented in the sense that, you look at their runners. I mean, when you look at the explosive real tape, they've gashed some people in the run game with what they're doing. I think when you look at their losses, I think when you look at their points allowed, points scored, I think it's only like 5 points difference. I mean, it's not like it's a big deal. And we understand that, they played a previous SEC team, and it was a one-possession game late in the fourth quarter. So to me, it's about us playing to our identity, playing to our ability, and playing to get better. We still got a lot of football left, so we need to play with the idea that we're going to continue to play to our identity, and we're going to play to our ability. And as we do that, we got to understand that they do a good job in the run game. They're multiple in their personnel. In other words, they play two back, two tights, two back, one tight. They're an 11. They can throw it a little bit. And, the head coach does have a little bit of an NFL background, so some of the routes and things like that, are pretty well designed. So we understand we've got to prepare. No different we did last week, and we got to understand that we always got to play to our identity, because if you don't, anything can happen.
Dan Mullen has had a reputation over his career, fairly or not, of being hard on defensive coordinators. Obviously, this is working really well for you, at least through 8 weeks. Why do you think you and Dan mesh together really well? What's your, coming in, were you worried about the relationship, or why has it worked so well?
One, I think that when we started talking, the philosophical beliefs, all the way from the importance in recruiting to the number of players you recruit on defense as well as offense, just the numbers in general, roster management things. Then I think that's important, because you got to have depth on defense to be able to play. Then the next thing is playing to a certain standard, like playing to our identity. You got to play fast, physical, and aggressive, and you do that. I mean, scheme is important, but at the end of the day, you got to make sure guys are in the right position, and you're teaching them and coaching them what to do, whatever your scheme is. So I'm a big believer in teaching. I'm a big believer in, developing the habits you need to play the position or play the game. And a part of that is the mental aspect of it, from a mental toughness thing to your effort and defining all that stuff. So I think it's a combination of philosophically we match in how we think you should play defense, how you should approach the game as far as with pressures and things like that, and then how you manage your roster as far as defensively.